saying goodbye to a couple of much-loved airplanes, and a fatal crash claims a YouTube couple. Also, a legendary pilot who is at one time the universe's loneliest human being. This and more on Taking Off. Welcome to Taking Off. I'm Christy Wong, and you're watching the latest topics and issues in general aviation. Today, we're saying goodbye to LearJet, the KingAir 90 series, and a well-liked YouTube aviation couple. Textron Aviation has decided to end the production of the popular KingAir 90 series. First produced in 1964, the KingAir was born out of Beechcraft's Queen Air model to fit the higher, faster turboprop niche. The Queen Air was roomier than the previous Bonanza and Twin Bonanza models, but it was a piston and most were unpressurized. But even the pressurized Queens were still running on piston engines. And with the birth of the amazing PT6 turboprop, people were wanting a twin that carried those reliable engines. So Beechcraft got to work and came up with a new turboprop version. They hit the nail on the head with the KingAir A90 model. It became the perfect airplane for many outfits, including firefighters, cargo carriers, air ambulance, skydive operations, and even the military. But the bread and butter was corporate travel, a new market that was really opening up in the 60s. Over time, the 90 was outfitted with better avionics and small changes to increase aerodynamic performance. The bigger changes involved the progression of the engine upgrades, leading to more horsepower. For half a century, it's been a slam dunk. The 90 spawned all the 100, 200, and now 300 series KingAirs. But if you're going to talk 90s, it's best to go right to a source, an owner-pilot of his own 90. Robert Johnson, what has separated the 90 series or made it so unique of an aircraft?
Thanks, Christy. The KingAir is a truly iconic airplane, and the 90 series is what started it all. Few other airplanes are as comfortable and reliable as the workhorse KingAir. It's a physically large airplane, and passengers love the size of the cabin. There's plenty of room for bags and, of course, the all-important potty in the back. From a pilot's perspective, it's a great handling airplane. Like most Beechcraft products, it's stable and predictable and overall a joy to fly. Being a turboprop, the plane can use much shorter runways than jets. It can also easily handle runways contaminated with ice and snow. I've been lucky to operate one of the last E models, and it's been a great plane for personal and business travel. It's hard to believe that after almost 60 years of continuous production, they're stopping the line, but I have no doubt that KingAirs of all varieties will be flying for a very long time to come. Back to you, Christy.
The 90 has been such a successful model. You may be asking, Christy, why stop now? In the 1990s, the single-engine turboprop entered the market with faster and more efficient single-engine options. TBM and Pilatus models outperformed the speed of the 90, but came out with much lower operating costs. Over the past several years, these single-engine turboprops started outselling the 90, and many potential 90 buyers opted for the larger KingAir models, such as the 200 and 300 series, due to the heavier carrying capacity. Textron purchased Beechcraft in 2014 and continued producing KingAirs, but it didn't help that Textron also announced the production of their own new single-engine turboprop, the Cessna Denali, which would directly compete with the 90. Now, it's worth mentioning that Textron is still producing and selling the KingAir 200 and 300 series, and it's thought that perhaps that's where they wanted to put their focus. And you're likely to continue seeing 90s in the skies for decades to come since they're such robust and reliable airplanes. We just won't see any new 90s being made. So if you're a pilot wanting to fly one, fear not. They're still around and very popular in the resale market. On that same note, Bombardier announced the end of the LearJet this year. It's been a long and fascinating run for the company. Bill Lear's first airplane, the Model 23, flew in 1963. While you see personal business jets on every ramp today, back then it was unheard of. Bill Lear led the way. He started in Switzerland before quickly moving the operation to aviation mecca, Wichita, Kansas, in 1962. He claimed that while labor was less expensive, it just took too long to get anything done in Switzerland. The tip wing tanks and landing gear design were taken from fighter prototypes. Several models were produced throughout the years, including the 25, 28, 31, and 35. Canadian aircraft manufacturer Bombardier acquired LearJet in 1990, and from that came the popular 45, 55, 60, and most recently the 75. They were overall very successful private and corporate planes. In popular culture, the brand was so strong, there was even a time when the term LearJet was used to describe any private jet. However, over the past few years, the sales have started to slip and then rapidly decline. In 2020, only 5 LearJet 75s were sold. Compare that to the 23 Challengers and 18 Globals Bombardier sold in the same year, and you can see why the decision was made. So what happened? Bombardier bought LearJet in 1990, but as the competition in the private jet market grew, they just didn't keep up. Around the mid-2000s, they were finally going to come up with a substantial upgrade, a brand new model, but had to kill that program when the parent company became cash-strapped. After that, it was simple band-aids for development, which just can't compete when the competition is bringing out new models and new technology and better designs. Production will cease by the end of this year, but Bombardier is promising to continue to support the line for decades to come. As we say goodbye to any new LearJets, just like the KingAir, we're sure to see many in the skies for years to come. Now for some heavy news. This last week, YouTube couple Tango and Juliet's Cessna 140 was found outside of Williams, Arizona on Sunday, April 18th. Tim Gill and his wife Joylani were both fatally injured. Here's the facts. The couple took off from Sedona, Arizona in the small Cessna 140 tail dragger. They may have gone near the Grand Canyon for sightseeing before heading north towards Clark Memorial Field to the north. They weren't found until a search was conducted after a relative informed law enforcement that one of the couple had not shown up for work the next day. For a detailed analysis of the little bit we do know, check out Juan Brown's report over on his channel, Blanco Lirio. We don't know what happened, but what we do know is that a very old, very small plane, possibly with either an 85 or 90 horsepower engine that probably had a useful load of around 500 or 600 pounds, took off from a field where the elevation was 7,000 feet to begin with. A small engine in a high altitude situation requires a good grasp on the capabilities of your airplane, and many factors can work against you. This was the first flight the couple took in their new-to-them Cessna 140. In addition to being a safety-conscious private pilot, Tim was very popular in the Southern California swing music scene. The couple loved traveling together and occasionally posted videos of their adventures on their YouTube channel. Their last Instagram post detailed their excitement over their new 1949 Cessna 140. We don't know what happened, and Juan's video is a great refresher on density altitude. I highly recommend you watch it. What I can take away is the importance of knowing my airplane's performance capabilities, its limits, and its thresholds. It's good for me to refresh on what could happen if I load my Wong Warrior up to near max as summer is approaching and start flying in higher density altitudes. What will crosswinds do? What would happen if I faced downdrafts that are common in that part of Arizona? In a small plane at that high a density altitude, I might need just a few hundred feet up over barren terrain. A downdraft might cause me to have a knee-jerk reaction of pulling up to get away from the ground. But slow, heavy, and hot, this could result in a low altitude stall spin that would most likely be fatal. So again, a reminder to keep that nose down when I'm slow and fight that natural urge to pull up and get away from the ground. To fly the plane, even if it meant an off-field landing because she just couldn't keep aloft in the thin air. Those are the things that I can take away, and I hope you can too. All right, now let's close with something a little different. 3 years ago, a man with no pilot certificate walked out onto the airport apron in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and untied a plane on a ramp, opening the cowling, looked around, and then got inside and tried to start it. Now, the guy, named Ryan Guy, in his late 20s, had just added one more felony charge to the 4 others involving aircraft that he faced. Well, the long arm of the law finally reached out and grabbed Ryan Guy, now 31, as he pleaded guilty this year to flying without a certificate when he took a plane, no joke, held together with actual duct tape and a plastic water bottle catching fluid dripping from below, and actually took off in it. And witnesses say it was marginal VFR at best that day. Well, the judge threw the book at Guy, who was sentenced to 14 months in prison. Guy's small business, an aircraft cleaning company, is named Outlaw Aviation. I guess he was cleaning more than the inside of airplanes. Kind of a fitting name if you think about it. Finally, all of us here at Taking Off wish blue skies for legendary pilot Michael Collins, who passed away from cancer on April 28, 2021. Collins was an Air Force pilot who was selected to pilot the command module on Apollo 11. He watched and listened from lunar orbit as his two partners became the first people to walk on the moon. As the pilot of the command module with his two buddies on the moon, Collins was often referred to as the loneliest man in history. He was a tireless promoter of space exploration, and his book, Carrying the Fire, is a must-read for any aviation enthusiast. You'll be missed, Michael Collins. Thank you, everyone, for watching and following our channel. We can't thank you enough. People ask how they can support our channel. You can follow us on Instagram at Pilot Christy and Taking Off Dan. Our t-shirts are also available for purchase in the link below. You can also support us through our Hangar Club at the same link below for the tees. And my Patreon is Pilot Christy. That link is below. And you know how much we love our Flying Eye sunglasses. But enough of us talking about how great they are. If you've bought some and want to send us your review, please do. We'd love to read and post it. And if you want to become a customer at flyingeyesoptics.com, make sure you use the 10% off discount code TakingOff, all caps. And as always, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. We really appreciate you guys. Until next time, safe flying, and we'll see you next time on Taking Off.